Hello envoys, new and old, I'm Kato, and welcome to a supercut of my totem guides for Avowed. Something I've been meaning to do for months, but time and motivation got away from me. This entire mashup is set up for game progression. Timestamps and chapter points are there for easy navigation as well. I'd like to preemptively thank you for watching this guide, and if you watch the whole thing and want more Avowed content, the end card will contain some more things you can check out, like where to find all the star metal. So without further ado, enjoy finding all 4 of these totems and then wrestling with which one you want to activate for your build. First stop will be the totem base itself, because that is required if you want to put the other pieces on it. So with that said, we will start with the Audra marker for the campsite northeast of Paradise, and take the bridge on the north end of the campsite up to the shrine to Woedica. Mind that breakable wood barricade, there's a unique back there. And if you head up the stairs to the main shrine area, where a helpful NPC will describe to you who Woedica is and his feelings on the other gods, and not care at all if you snatch up the one thing that is the centerpiece of this shrine. So now that we've picked up the base, let's move on to the other 6 pieces that will attach to it later. From the Shrine to Woedica, we will be heading west, over most of the region known as the Rise, past the Falls, the Northern Farms, and the Pilgrim's Path, to a ruin on the northwestern part of the map called the Pargrun Cache. You'll see this big old stone structure before the bridge with the waterfall behind it. And in fact, on that northern side of the Pargrun Cache ruins, there will be a destroyable wall and 3 barrels that you can shoot, or melee if you're crazy, granting you entry into the cache itself. So after you've gotten up the various wooden platforms, and loot as you see fit, the path will lead you to these broken stairs, to a still operational guillotine trap, and opening up to an area with specters and skeletons. Clear all this out, and the main path will be blocked by some roots over the doorway, where you'll be able to spot the chest that does contain the bricklayer's boots and some barrels next to a breakable wall. You can fire at the barrels from here, or charge through the wall like a maniac, and this opening will be around the left side from the door. Even though we've gathered the majority of the treasure of this cache, there is another hole in the wall a little bit higher up that takes you to the nearby cliffs that have a nest of some description which contains the Golden Scale of Order, and its bonus says activating a companion ability increases your damage for 5 seconds. How much of an increase this is, I'm not sure, but bigger numbers are good. Now, for the next piece of the Woedica Totem, we'll be going way to the southwestern side of the map to the lighthouse at Claviger's Landing. Regardless of if you picked this one up earlier, this is a quick ascent, and about halfway up the lighthouse, there will be a break in the wall that reveals the interior stairwell and the golden plaque of promises lying on top of a little crate here. The bonus you get from this piece is reviving a companion grants rapid health and essence regeneration. Now that we're done here, you can continue your ascent and grab the treasure map as well as the boots if you haven't been here already, and my favorite part, if you're adventurous, jump off the top into the waters below. Once you've dried off in Claviger's Landing, we will then head east for the next part of the totem, and it is located in Castle's Folly. These are the jagged rocks that have claimed many a ship and Animancer on the southeastern side of the Dawnshore map. So head across the bridge along the outside walls of Paradise and through the shantytown, following the gorgeous green landscape to the rocky platforms here, where you can then jump over and then be in Castle's Folly proper. There's at least one encounter here that is tough to avoid, so once you've taken care of this early group of desperate smugglers, we can then go through this mineshaft style opening in the nearby cliff face, breaking through the wood barricade inside to emerge closer to our target. In fact, it will be right above where we emerge, just out of reach. Or maybe it isn't. If you continue scaling the cliff, you might notice that there's just enough texture to it where you can get to the ledge that would otherwise be just out of reach. It's that or fight some more smugglers, up to you. But once you're up here near the fiery brazier, jump across the way, and you might discover the golden flames sitting on a blanket near a knocked over lantern. The effect the golden flames gives is Second Wind casts Ring of Fire. And we're done here at Castle's Folly, but if you decide to stick around, there is a unique ring here as well as a quest. The next of the Woedica Totem pieces we're going for is the Golden Scale of Justice. And to start, we'll need to descend from Castle's Folly, go back to the mainland, and head to the southeastern gate of Paradise. If you take the main walkway right until you're on the edge of the market, there will be a set of stairs up the side of the wall that will lead back into the Pearl District. We'll be entering that area only for a moment, as there's a lot of parkour involved with this one, and we'll be climbing up the scaffolding on the nearby building, then climbing up the nearby wall, then following that back towards the market until you hit the edge, where there's a little bit more scaffolding and enough clearance to get to the artist's balcony nearby. Going inside, you'll notice that nobody's really been here probably for a while, as you'll have a web obstacle that you have to burn through to head down to the ground floor, where our treasure lies. And surprise, something is residing here, it's just not who you would expect. Once you have taken care of the restless spirits here, you should find the Golden Scale of Justice among the pile of books and other rubble in here. The outrageously powerful effect of the Golden Scale of Justice is that critical hits will deal high fire accumulation, meaning if your enemies survive you, they'll probably be on fire. And in my mind, this alone makes the totem worth it. But once you have that and you're done looting, let's head back out into the market through a convenient deadbolted door. Next we go for is the Broken Crown Jewel, and that is just pretty much down the street in Hightown. So just leaving the artist's house in the market district and taking a right, taking the stairs and walkways upwards to the Hightown gates, one loading screen later, you'll find yourself in Hightown. And the first business along your right will be Sansa's Emporium, which is where we need to go. Now, Sansa being the cartographer, he does sell the clues to the Woedica Totem pieces in the form of fragments of the scales, but these are just written clues and seem to work better as a reminder of where to find the pieces. But that aside, if you go into the back, opening the door, you'll see the Broken Crown Jewel right in front of you if you haven't picked it up already, and you'll be able to grab it off of Sansa's desk. And the effect of the Broken Crown Jewel is to reduce companion ability cooldowns by 15%. Once you're done in Sansa's place, we've got one more to go just outside town. For the next piece, known as the Golden Plaque of Oaths, not oats, oaths, we'll be taking the Street of the Gods northeast out of Sansa's shop and taking the God's Gate back out to the Dawnshore wilderness. Straight ahead will be a ruin and rock formation known as Usher's Hand. Fitting, right between the index finger and thumb of this formation is a small cave below filled with water that emerges in a room covered by a metal grate. Behind the grate is the golden plaque that we're after, of course. So you can use a frost spell or grenade to get through the grate, or jump down the crevice nearby into the water and emerge next to the plaque instead. Whichever you choose, you will now have access to the Golden Plaque of Oaths and the last piece of the Woedica Totem, and this one grants the effect of +2 intellect and +2 resolve while it's active. Once you've picked this up, you can fast travel to camp immediately, and then you and your companions can become way stronger than they were before, and you'll get some extra lore on the gods too once the totem's complete. We will start on the western edge of the Wildwoods at the Wildwoods Plateau Party Camp, as the outer pillars are just great visual markers. From here, as you would expect, we're heading to the Shrine of Skaen, which can be reached by taking the pathway along the north across the Godless Bridge, and then west to this ruined tower that is wrapped up in a giant root. Clamber up the ledges, ascend the stairs, and at the platform at the very top, you may see a skull staring back at you, mounted on this totem base. This is the Schemer's offering. Now the real fun begins. We have 6 to go. For this totem piece, we're actually not going far from where we found the base itself, and remaining in the Dawnshore Glade area, but going further in. Now, if you have taken part in the main quest in Emerald Stair, you'll know that it does take you to the heart of the Dawnshore Glade. So how you deal with the entities that live here is totally up to you. So if you cross the crumbling root-covered bridge, watch for holes, and continue on your path off to the right, what we're looking for is a balcony on the remainder of the godless structure. And to get there, all you need to do is stick to the right path that becomes more enclosed as you go. Go a little further ahead and you'll find this route that's going over the main path. Go under it and you may notice a ramp that goes up to that route and up further to the next level. If you decide to turn left when you get up said route, there will be another spot that you can jump up via this flat rocky ledge. And this short hop gets you right up to the balcony that contains a skeletal corpse as well as the obsidian prayer beads, which grant the bonus of critical hits dealing high poison accumulation, when the Skaen Totem is active, of course. So for our next piece, if you're doing the Kato sweep, we'll be backtracking a little bit back past the Shrine to Skaen towards the Grim Wetlands. So if you get out of the Dawnshore Glade Chasm, go past the Godless Sinkhole. At this point, all you really need to do is follow the cliff's edge until this little chapel comes into view at swamp level, because that is our objective. However, the doors are barred, so we'll need to go into the infested camp on the cliff above, clear it out if necessary, and hop this broken bridge to get inside. And tucked down here next to the statue of Helia should be the Idol of Covert Plots, which will grant a bonus of 2 Constitution and 2 Dexterity when active. If you're interested, there's also a unique you can find in the ruins to the west of the infested camp after getting through the generator doors, but make sure you open up this barred door at the chapel first for easier access. And, oh, watch for skeletons. From the infested camp, we will be going east across the Gwyrm wetlands and cross the river into a greener part of the map. And just to the northeast of that river, what you're looking for is the abandoned farms. For this one, you don't have to even enter any of the houses, as what we need is pinned to the northeasternmost one. Around the backside of this building, you will find a barricaded door with a note pinned to this barricade by the very thing we're looking for, the Sacrificial Dagger. The effect the Sacrificial Dagger gives you, when applied to the totem, is Second Wind casts Flurry of Blows, which is normally an ability at the very bottom of the Ranger tree. We're on a roll now because all we gotta do is head to the southeast across the rolling crags to Ranger headquarters, because that is where the next totem piece is. If you're looking at the entrance, if you go off to the right side and up the stairs, despite the warnings for the other soldiers around the area not to climb the tower, we're gonna climb the tower with this convenient ladder on the eastern side. The first platform you reach will kind of be like a fake out because the door next to you will be barred, but you can actually jump across in here and continue parkouring up as normal. Once reaching the balcony with the stack of crates with a potion sitting in it, here you can check around the corner to your left where there's one more platform to jump to and then a ladder to climb. And among some crates just behind the beacon, you should find the Idol of Violent Rebellion, which grants the effect of increasing your damage against skull enemies. And these are enemies that are outranking your gear quality. I don't know the number for this bonus, but I was undergeared when I was here, and it seemed to be very helpful. And while you can probably hear it, the chest nearby also contains some Audra, so be sure to grab that. Now for this next one, the mode of travel is completely up to you. I like running places a lot of the time because encounters are finite and I like destroying things with a greatsword. But we are going to the southwestern side of the map to the ancient grotto near the Nakutetek grounds. So if you don't have the grotto's fast travel, you can start at the River Fork Beacon and head up the spiral stairs in the Godless Ruin, then heading west. Finding the grotto is simple as just following the edge of the canyon to the entrance of said ancient grotto, and our objective is inside. Now I will be showing a direct path in here, but there is a bounty target if you haven't taken them out already. But from the ledge of this first chamber when you enter, there will be a small corridor with stairs down on the southeastern side. That's where we want to go for the totem piece. First into a room with some extra spicy water that even your feet can taste. So if you jump to the rocks on the right side and then to the balcony up to the brambles and burn them away, you then only need to take a right and then a left, following the ominous green glow into this passage made for Orlands, which opens up to a resting place of a certain someone important to Emerald Stair, and you should find the Idol of Secret Hatred resting under his skeletal fingers. The bonus of this idol increases your damage against unaware enemies by 25%. Not that you need to change your build right now or anything, but in case you didn't notice, this totem is great for stealth archery. The final totem piece that we are going for is the one that is locked behind the main story of Emerald Stair during the quest Ancient Soil, which I'll do my best not to spoil. No spoiled soil here. This takes us just to Nakutetek, which is south of the Ancient Grotto, the most prominent godless ruin in the area. So once you have gained entry into the dungeon under Nakutetek, the totem piece is actually not far from where you come in. And if you have descended the short spiral stairs, the path will immediately come to a T where you'll want to take a left and activate the essence generator door nearby. Do so, and in here you'll find a watery pool that you can create a platform in with nearby frost or your own source of frost. Climb up the route to the upper level where a stone table up here will have a dagger sitting next to the effigy necklace. And the effect of the effigy necklace is after taking damage from an enemy, your next attack within 10 seconds will deal plus 20% of the original damage you received that stacks with retribution. Retribution coming from the warrior tree with a same or similar effect. Now we've got all the pieces, the next step is up to you. If you have some dangling threads and side quests and you came down here, you're probably going to want to go do those. And the door didn't lock behind you anyway, so you can actually go to camp and set up this brand new awesome totem with all of its 6 sick effects. Get some lore on Skaen, and if you got the Woedica Totem as well, now you get to choose between them. But I'll leave that up to you. Tell me what build you're using and which totem you prefer. We'll be starting our route from the Eagle's Reach Party Camp, which is the first camp you should see when you enter Shatterscarp. And pretty much anywhere on the side of Shatterscarp, if you look to the south, you should see this giant salt crystal formation, which is where we need to go for the base of the Wael Totem. This will take us along the western side of the ancient lake bed, where we will also pass the first of the bounty targets. Then underneath the giant pink crystal formations, you'll hit a small platforming section that is facing the ocean, watch your step, which will lead you further down into a cave, marked by a couple torches. Follow the pleasant natural lighting, and this will eventually open up into a large chamber, where unless you came in backwards, you will see the pedestal directly ahead of you, and can take the Eyes of the Obscured from it. There's also a unique ring in the cage nearby. The first of the 6 pieces we are to place on the statue of Wael is actually not far from where we pick up the base. And from the pedestal where you picked up said base, we can take the passage to the north to lead us back outside, where we will locate the Ruby Eye being guarded by the Ward of the Eye, and who I learned the pronunciation of Wael from. The Ward will speak to you regardless of if you picked up the eye or spoke to them first, and present you with an existential question as payment. The Ruby Eye, when its effect is active, causes Second Wind to cast Shadowing Beyond, which is the stealth or invisibility skill found in the Ranger tree. For the next totem part, we're actually going back towards the ancient lake bed, to the eastern side of it where this rocky overhang is. In the shady shelter of this rocky overhang, you may find a mourning Thirdbornian, which has a short side mission, but near where you find her, you may also find on this flat rock the Amethyst Eye, which has the effect of restoring essence, also restoring a small amount of health, while the Wael Totem is active. Man, this is the worst. For the next part, we've got a bit of a run now, emerging from the ancient lake bed to the main road towards Thirdborn, where you can snag the camp location and the quests in the town, if you haven't already, and continue east into the Great Sand Sea. Our objective will be on the edge of the map, past the rock formation with the highest elevation, where you can also find the Zarep bounty target, but behind this imposing Zarep camp, you may find a little greenery surrounding an oasis. Take a little dip in the water, and almost dead center underneath the water in this oasis, you may find the Sapphire Eye, which has the effect of critical hits dealing high random accumulation. That's any status as far as I can tell. So bleed, poison, frost, fire, shock. So this might be pretty intense if you have a high crit build. And while you're down in the water, you can grab the Trickster's gloves from the skeleton in the broken sarcophagus too, which are a direct improvement from the Blackwing gloves and also have a focus on crit. I'm sensing a theme. After a refreshing dip in the oasis, we will now be heading north across the Great Sand Sea to another imposing structure called the Sand Sea Ruins, not far to the north. If this is your first time here, you may notice that the front door of this place is barred on the inside, inviting us to climb up the stairs on the north side, encountering some Zarep residents minding their own business, and parkouring up the scaffolding to get around the back side of the main structure. Now, once you've entered the opening of the main building, you'll want to leap to the platform halfway down, and going inside the small nearby chamber, where you'll find a chest and the Agate Eye sitting on top of a table. And the Agate Eye's effect says activating a level 15 or level 20 ability grants plus 5% damage reduction for 10 seconds. And now, if you jump down to the ground floor, you'll be able to unbar the door for easy entry if you need to come here for any other reason related to a Thirdborn quest. For the next part of the Wael Totem, we'll be heading northwest, passing a 2-for-1 deal on bounty targets into the southern gateway of Shark's Teeth. Once you start seeing Pargrunan structures, you may be surprised to find out that the gemstone is not in any of them and is actually sitting outside somewhere. So if you're hugging the eastern side of Shark's Teeth and head up the wide stairs and pathways to come upon this half-finished statue, the scaffolding and ladder will take you all the way to the top, where we'll find the Emerald Eye glinting in the sun. Almost as if this totem complements itself, the effect of the Emerald Eye is a straight 5% bonus to critical hit chance. After you've picked up the Emerald Eye and you glance down to the southwest of you, you may notice a skeletal bounty target too. There's also just a lot of treasure tucked away here, including the Pargrun cache, so I figured I'd mention that too. For the next part, we're in for probably the longest run, but there is a lot to see along the way too, so I'm trying to leave room for sightseeing here. If we head northwest from our previous location, which was the unfinished statue, we will be hitting the Shark's Teeth Party Camp, and if we go west along the top of these ruins, encountering some specters if you've got sticky fingers, get the checkpoint at Togo's Tower, and then go on to the passage that takes us west into the Deadfall Highlands, where we get a beautiful shot of the godless ruins here. And if you are so enticed to walk towards those godless ruins, you will also find the final of the bounty targets just ahead of you. The totem piece, however, is a little further to the southwest, at Leviathan's Hollow, another Zarup encampment with its stone entryway carved into the shape of a Leviathan skull. These landmarks are awesome, aren't they? Swim into the watery entrance, and we'll first want to go to our right to put our feet on some semi-dry land, and follow the north edge and hop up a couple wood platforms to this stone staircase that leads into a back chamber that greets you with a menagerie of colorful flora. On the table in here, just behind the corpse of a Thirdbornian, you should find the Topaz Eye, which provides the effect of +2 intellect and +2 perception while the totem is active. So once you're done here, and there's quite a bit to explore still, the great part about this totem run is the end also is capped off by a campsite, which is just south of Leviathan's Hollow, so you can go claim that campsite if you haven't already, and place your Totem of Wael, get some of that lore, and have another totem with all of its wild effects to choose from. What better place to start than the glorious Audra campsite marker right by the entrance to Galawain's Tusks. But instead of following the road straight to Solace, we are taking the scenic route and going west. And our first objective is in the Slumbering Fields. But to get there, we will be going through the Writhing Ruins, passing through this western gateway to get up to the perfectly usable walkway up here to use to leap to the western cliff. The brambles up here can then be burned away by the power of Kai or fire grenades or spells to open a short passage that leads into a clearly smelly boss arena, where you will encounter the first of our bounty targets, which you can fight or avoid, and continue west, jumping up the wood platforms and crawling through this small opening. Our next landmark should be a broken aqueduct, the one that seems to be slowly sinking into the lava. Just like water, frost, magic, and grenades can make platforms, or if you're a fighter build, you can just charge across. Now, the following pathway, after you pass the strange dwarf with the dancing skeletons, will then finally end up in the Slumbering Fields. The totem fragment is nestled in this toppled tower that's up high. If you head directly north from the entrance of the Slumbering Fields, dealing with the sporelings as you see fit, you can then take each of these big step-shaped stones that cross over the top of the main pathway and take you closer to the tower itself. On the left side from here, there will be a platform here low enough to climb, turn north to parkour to the next, and then you'll be right where you need to be to enter this ruined tower and find the Hunter's Arrows of Slaying. And these, when on an active totem, will grant you 2 might and 2 constitution. And if you're after bounty targets, there should be one a little ways to your south, unless you already fought it on your way up here. After you're finished up in these Slumbering Fields, the next part we're going for is actually the base of the Totem of Galawain, at the Shrine of Galawain. So if you cross back over that river of lava and then head northeast, you will eventually discover some more godless ruins, which are what we're looking for. You'll know you're in the right place if you haven't been here before and you see 2 ogres guarding the ruins. I would argue they are the most challenging of the bounty targets, but there's enough space here where you can actually just sneak up the stairs and grab the totem base while they're not paying attention. And if this ogre package deal wasn't enough, there's another bounty target just on the other side to the northwest inside a cave. So have fun. After fighting or fleeing for your life, the next fragment is at the bridge to the garden. However, to save us a little bit of time, I'll first suggest getting the Solace campsite marker just to the northeast from the Shrine of Galawain. But after that, you really only need to follow the big glowing tree. And on your approach to the bridge to the garden, we can just continue to hug this left rocky wall and hop up once you reach the cliff's edge. Then if you look just under where the bridge starts, there'll be a spot you can hop down to somewhat safely, where you'll be able to locate the antler of the persevering stag next to a Kith corpse. And the bonus that comes from the antler of the persevering stag increases your damage against prone enemies by 75%. And if you're crushing objectives as you go, your first objective should be right on the bridge above you. And after that, to save some backtracking, we can fast travel to the Solace camp. Since we are starting at a campsite, I did have an ulterior motive here. Bringing Marius and Yatsley will make the next leg of this much smoother, or efficient if you're going for efficiency, because our next objectives are on the northeastern corner of the map, a location that ties into Marius's backstory and has an obstacle that needs dispelled. But since we're passing Solus Keep, if the place wasn't its own billboard already, but just in case you haven't, at the very least I recommend speaking to the council for the main quest, and you'll find out why later. So after all that prep, we're on the road that leads north from Solus Keep, and passing through the primordial depths. Now once the road hits its end via a broken bridge, that's the time to merge a bit off to the right into the numerous Zarup camps here. After we've run into the primordial depths north beacon, we can then go through this opening in the fence and platform over the lava river into this spider cave, which will eventually take us up to where we need to go. In this spider cave, there are two possible obstacles to get through, one breakable wall and one burnable spiderweb. But on this path, we're going to take the burnable spiderweb route and end up in this magma chamber that has some burnable brambles up high, blocking our path up and out of this small cavern. Once that's out of the way though, you can continue on to this corridor that leads back up to the surface, where we emerge directly in front of a Pargrun cache. The totem fragment we're after though is actually off to our left, up these series of rocky steps and following the cliff wall along the left side, up to this godless tower that has a lot of wood barricades for some reason, maybe to keep the goodies inside a surprise? Because when we climb up and into the tower, we will find the Hunter's Arrows of Surviving, which have the effect of killing an enemy, giving you plus 20% move speed for 10 seconds. Our next fragment to collect is actually in the same area on the other side of the Pargrun cache, and if you haven't jumped in that cache already, we will be using it to get a little bit closer. So if we take these rocky steps back the way we came along this cliff face and hop up to the Pargrun cache, burn the brambles, and drop down, grabbing goodies as we go. Once unbarred, the door will of course open up, almost facing directly where we need to go, but the easier spot to leap to is a little to the right. What we need to get to is this illusory wall that is being guarded by Zarups and Scorchblights. Take care of them, and Yatsley can use her special Dispel Illusion ability to get rid of this illusory wall. This will then open up into a small, dimly lit cave that is thankfully lit by torches, and comes to a T a short ways in. And off to the left, if you burn the brambles in your way, it'll open up the entrance to a small little godless hovel with the antler of the pursued stag sitting on a table inside. And the effect of this fragment is critical hits deal high bleed accumulation. And I'm sure you noticed that Marius's companion mission is also just down the cliff from your location, so it's a good time to hit that up if you've been meaning to do so. For the next non-quest locked fragment, we will need to go west across the northern primordial depths. So if you're starting at the Pargrun cache, you can jump down the cliffs near where the spider cave is, or just fast travel to the beacon we got on our way here. Then we'll backtrack a little bit along the lava lake side, back to the main road where the bridge is out. But along the western cliffs, there are a couple of breakable wood walls that can serve as a bypass to get to the western end of the map. And just ahead, you'll be able to see another campsite marker that we can grab on our way, where you can switch out Marius and Yatsley if you want to. And then we will continue on the main road, past the living archives, until coming upon another broken bridge. No lava here though, thankfully. From the broken bridge though, if you look to your north, you'll see a little crater where you will find some star metal as well as the final bounty target that we'll be seeing. Take it or leave it, we will be continuing west all the way to the Ash Forest outpost. And once here, to get to the fragment we are after, stick to the southern cliff face to get up to the southern part of the outpost, and it is just on the roof of this building. And here you will locate the Wolf's Pelt Trophy, which allows Second Wind to cast Barbaric Shout, one of the fighter abilities. And the way I showed you did bypass a tripwire, which you will end up on the other side of if you drop down the hole in the roof here. Because this totem fragment, of course, is not the only worthwhile thing here. This final totem fragment is the reason I have been mentioning major main quest beats along the way, because the next fragment is at the Mount Forja summit. And if you go through the quarry, into the mines, and to the summit, some real big story stuff happens, which I'll try not to spoil. So if you're coming from the Ash Forest outpost, we'll be heading back towards the Primordial Depths party camp, or fast traveling there. And if you go south, you'll eventually run into the Mount Forja quarry entrance. If you got food that gives you buffs, now's the time to use them because there's going to be a lot of fighting. And as you follow the minecart tracks to the entrance of the mine, check the crane platform to your right for arguably some of the best boots in the game. Once in the mines, the dungeon itself is pretty straightforward, and I feel like I don't have to walk you through the whole thing, just a lot more fighting, lava, loot, and the dungeon path coming to an end at this campsite. Now, once you come outside and head towards the summit camp, a story critical cutscene will play, as well as some other activities. After that plot stuff happens, if you head along the cliff's edge to the southwest, you'll be able to clamber up to this small campsite, where the bedroll will have the Hunter's Arrows of Seeking embedded in it, which grant the effect of killing an enemy, giving you plus 4% damage reduction for 10 seconds. So now that you have the fragments, and once you fight your way back through the mines, because unfortunately you can't fast travel from the summit, you can then head back to camp and set up your now complete Totem of Galawain, get some more lore on the gods, and if you've completed the other totems, get your Pantheon Purist achievement. So now that you have all 4 to choose from, which best serves your min-maxed build? I still really like the Wael Totem myself. And if you found this guide useful, entertaining, or both, please do whatever you see fit to show that. Among the ways you can is by supporting on Patreon like the delectable deities on screen now, including Wasteland Legends Sven. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Kato, and your expedition to the Living Lands awaits.